Let's talk staying alive. I'm back with another short top 10 video just for fun. We're going to be looking at defensive staples today. I think you could probably make some pretty good arguments with me about 10 through 4 and whether they belong and what you would switch them with. But I think 3 through 1 are kind of set in stone, and I don't think I would feel comfortable moving them at the current moment. So let's jump right into this. Number 10, we have set 5 action barrier shield. We're primarily playing this on defense for the top enhance, remove, reduce this attack speed to 0. The next card you play this turn gets breaker 2. This is huge on turns 2 and 3 to get a breaker 2 off for maximum disruption. And then it's also huge on turns 4 and 5 when you can reduce an attack speed to 0 and you can immediately stop your opponent doing some sort of dunk attack where they're trying to make some 20 speed, 30 damage move, sending it your way. And maybe they've done all the math about your stage, but you can play this from your hand and reduce the speed to 0. It does come at the cost of, you have to play 2 cards to block an attack. But if you're playing like Evil Shigaraki 3, Void Eraserhead 1, you're playing these 7-handers that also get lots of draw options, then that's not really a huge cost. And I see this becoming a staple on all 3 of these symbols. We already saw this card being run at a 2x or 3x on both Void Eraserhead lists that topped the Webcam Regional. In the Oceanic Regional, we had a Evil Kurogiri 2 that was using this card quite a bit. It just bubbled out of the top 8, but it was kind of neat using that as a 5-hander, give it breaker 2, and then he'd use a card from his discard pile that already had breaker 2, and now it's breaker 4, or something along those lines. But, I played this in play testing for the regional, or maybe I played it in the regional. I can't remember which one, but they were using barrier shields quite a bit. And I was on this line where I made a lethal rejuvenating smash. It was like a 12 damage rejuvenating smash. And I could win the game if I got it to hit. I had 4 momentum as Mirio. So if I EX3'd 4 times, I could get it to unblockable. I did the math on the stage, and there was no way he could block it if I gave it 12 speed, and then I would win the game. But I had to worry about this card. So I went ahead and did it. I got rid of all of my momentum, which, I hadn't landed an attack yet that turn. So if this attack didn't land, I would be left with 0 momentum, and I would just, I would totally die on the backswing. So as soon as I said EX3 4 times, I just felt this panic come through me that he was going to play Barrier Shield and take the speed to 0. It didn't happen, and I ended up winning the game with the Rejuvenating Smash. But just that, this card brings that ability that can't be, it can't be calculated. The risk can't be calculated as much as cards on the stage can. The fact that it can be played from a hand at any time and take the speed to 0 for, basically no cost. It's just a 2-diff, and it removes itself from the card pool. So very, very strong. Number 9, we have Tape. It's like a baby wall cling, but it's a 1 difficulty and checks a 5 instead of a 4. You can flip, change this attack zone to mid. I don't think Mirio is leaving the meta anytime soon. I don't think he's going to get eroded as a starter character. So as long as he's a very, very popular character in the meta, Tape is also going to be just that much more important. It was already a great card because typically your decks are going to have more mid blocks than they are high blocks or low blocks. And that's just because the game designers print twice as many mid blocks as the other block zones. So it's already very, very strong, and today it's even stronger. And then you get the second enhance. If your opponent's playing an all mid attack lineup, you can still flip for -2 speed on a mid attack. So there's never a situation where this card doesn't feel good to have on the stage, and it costs hardly anything to get it out. Number 8, we have our 3rd Void card in a row, Spooky. This is on the all death and void symbols, and you can commit and switch the speed and damage of your rival's attack. What makes this so powerful is that it's like a soft reset. And most of the time when you have a reset foundation, it comes with a destroy cost, a flip cost, or a remove cost, or maybe even one of those plus discarding a momentum. Whereas this is, you can do it every single time on your rival's turn. You can commit and switch the speed and damage. So if you're a character that's already doing speed shenanigans like Eraserhead, Of course, this is meant for Eraserhead, where you -2 speed, and then maybe you can use something else to give it even further minus speed, switch the speed and damage, and then take your 0 damage. You could even use this to make an electric jolt, deal 0 damage and not go to momentum. Or you can use it on dunk attacks like an 8 mid for 20, take the speed down a little bit and then switch them. So very, very strong. And what makes it get its place on this list above the other resets is the fact that it doesn't flip itself. It just commits itself. Number 7, we have Ice Gliding. Another 1 difficulty foundation, 3 mid block, just like tape. And we can commit this attack as +1 or -2 speed. If it's blocked, the next attack gets +1 or -1 speed. So, if you add those together and you block that attack and the next attack, it's like you committed it for -3 speed, which is very, very strong. It does come at the downside of, a lot of the time you won't be blocking the next attack, or maybe you commit it and then your opponent does some other moves and then you end up not even blocking anyway. So it has that downside to it. But what makes it such a staple is that it can also win you games in a pinch. Sometimes getting that +1 speed on your attack is just all that you needed. And if you get a few of these out early, which is very easy to do since it's a 1 difficulty attack, you feel pretty good about getting some blocks in early turns. I don't think you'll ever see a fire, order, or water symbol deck currently that won't run at least 2 copies of this card. Number 6, we have Cooperation Offer, the new overhaul starter deck foundation. We have Flip, return this attack to its printed zone. This attack gets -3 speed. Flip for -3 speed is good just by itself. And the fact that you're also going to return it to its printed zone when Mirio's so strong immediately makes this a staple in the game. It overcomes being a 2 difficulty 3 mid block. And we get Commit if this attack was played anywhere other than your hand, it gets +2 damage, which of course for overhaul could make all the difference in making it move lethal or not. But Flip for -3 speed will never not be good, and now we're also getting to return it to its printed zone. Very, very strong. If you watch the Oceanic Regional and you watch the semifinal and the final where it was overhaul versus Mirio both games, Cooperation Offer was absolutely the MVP foundation for overhaul. Number 5, we have another set 5 card, Twisty Surroundings. It's a breaker 2 terrain, and you can commit after your rival makes a check to play an attack, it gets -2. Failing the check will not end the combat phase. So this is repeatable breaker 2 at any time. And what makes this so strong is if you have good deadlock, if you have solid deadlock abilities, then you're basically telling your rival, you're not allowed to build into deadlock, and you're at 10 foundations, but really every single turn that you try and attack me, you're really only playing on 8 foundations. And then you can just outbuild them like crazy and really take a stranglehold on the game at that point. It also helps that it has this ability, discard 1 momentum, change the zone of this attack to any other zone. Playable while committed, playable by either player. Sometimes that playable by either player can kind of bite you in the rear, but most of the time it's very, very effective at getting your blocks off. Number 4, we have Cheerleader. Now this one might be a little bit more of a hot take, but I absolutely loved this card. I ran it as a 2x in my Mirio list on good, and I ran it as a 2x in my Shoto 1 list on water. It says remove, discard 1 momentum. After an attack is played, it gains flash. What makes this so strong is it's not discarding the card from their card pool, it's not letting your rival draw a card, and it's not letting your rival get any enhances off, which can be a huge deal. Most of the other cards that, like Broken Psyche, Flip changes this damage to 2, your rival's still getting the benefit of getting to use all of their enhances on the attack and their foundations and their character. Whereas Cheerleader, you're just cutting out the entire enhanced step. So on a card that might say draw 2 cards, this is a huge deal. You can really cancel their flow cards as well as their dunks, whereas Broken Psyche and Decoy Duplicate are, they're mostly for the dunk attacks, whereas this can also be key early in the game, canceling flow attacks. Or like if you're playing an overhaul and they just played their last card in their hand, you can flash it and now they can't even press the overhaul button to play from their stage. There's just so many good uses when this is on stage. And whenever I have one of these with a momentum, I just feel unkillable. Number 3, we have Struggling with Studies on Chaos, Death, and Water. Flip, if this is your rival starter grade or attack this combat phase, add 1 card from your card pool to your hand. So you're clearing your card pool and you're getting a selective draw because you get to pick which of the cards in your card pool that you're picking back up. So of course you're going to pick up the block zone that you need, which is more important than ever right now. And a lot of you can even use it on cards like Chronostasis Trigger or Ice Storm so that you can pick up a Breaker 2 block and then play it again. And a lot of times if you Breaker 2 their third attack and you already played a Breaker 2 on their first attack, that's probably going to be a turn ender, getting 2 Breaker turns off on the same turn. And it also has this response: before one of your foundations would be flipped due to a rival effect, flip this foundation instead. I find this kind of funny because the foundation I'm always worried about them flipping is my Struggling with Studies. So I like to pull a power move off. If they like you seizing the advantage and say, I'll flip Struggling with Studies, then I'll say, no. I'm going to respond and flip my Struggling with Studies. I make the decisions here. Just feels nice, I'm in control. I'm making this decision. But very, very strong card, and it's on a 1 difficulty. I think it's just, if you're playing these symbols, you have to put 2 of this card into your list. Number 2, we have Faith Shield. This card comes with a lot of costs. It's a 4 check, it's a 2 difficulty that hardly does anything in your stage, and it's a 3 mid block, but that's because it has a very, very powerful response. When you block with it, you get to remove. After you block with this card, this attack deals no damage. Flip this attack after it resolves. So you're stopping combos, you're blocking throws, and you're clearing your card pool. So any block that you get after this, it's like this block modifier was better. So if you did 2 more blocks in the turn, it's like this, block modifier was really a 1. So it more than makes up for having the 3 block modifier. And finally, at number 1, I think everybody knows what it's going to be. I don't think it's any secret. I don't think it's ever going to change, honestly, until a certain set rotates. It is Release, and we can release the fireworks for this one. We get to destroy a foundation. Your check to block this attack is +2. What makes this so incredibly good is that it's not coming at a commit or flip or destroy cost, so we can do this on every single attack over our rival's turn and just continue getting +2. And if you have 2 of these on stage, it feels like you can block everything. The downside is sometimes you use Release so much that you fall behind in the foundation game, and then you can't keep up, and then it wasn't something that saved you, it was something that just prolonged your inevitable death. But most of the time this can absolutely save you, and the fact that it's even given a 2 high block instead of a 3 high block, or even I think they could have given this a 4 high block if they wanted to. If this was a really old UVS card, it just wouldn't even have a block. It's so powerful. I think it immediately goes in at 3 or 4x on all of these symbols. I think the life symbol is one of the strongest symbols in the game, if not the strongest symbol in the game. I think if you took away Release, the life symbol would definitely go down quite a bit. It would, maybe fall from A tier to B tier. And that is going to do it. Let's talk about some cards that just missed the cut. If I was to do 11, 12, and 13, I would probably pick these cards. Rescue Completed, turning your face down foundations basically into ice glidings is pretty nice. Especially like if you're playing Life Overhaul and you have a ton of face downs, or of course if you're playing Asui and you have face downs. High Value Target, getting the benefit of being able to be played reactively after you've already blocked an attack is very, very powerful, and that it's a low block instead of a mid block like ice gliding. And then Broken Psyche, flip, discard one momentum, change this attack's damage to 2. The downside of Broken Psyche is that your rival is still going to get momentum, and you're still going to be taking some damage. So, you can't use it like late in the game when you're hanging on by 1 health. And then let's talk about other contenders. I think you could probably make an argument for any of these. Let's see, I put 21 cards on here. You could probably make an argument for any of these 21 to be in the top 10. I like down here, I put this little row of four checks, foundations. Anytime, they print a really, really strong defensive ability, they like to slap a forecheck on it, which is understandable. If here's you're going to find most of your resets, like Encouraging Training Partner, Desperate Struggle, You're So Obvious. They're very, very strong, but a lot of times you'll only main like one or two maybe, and then put the others in your sideboard for certain matchups. You have your Breaker 2, your Red Guard, which has the downside, it's still going to check you a 3, and it's, going to up your attack ratio. You have like Runaway, but most often Runaway is more a sideboard card. Airy, you could say Airy's a staple, but you're almost never running more than one copy of Airy. Wall Cling's very, very strong, but Faith Shield, of course, is stronger when you block with that. Your Faith Shield gets the benefit of disrupting combos. League of Villains, I think League of Villains could have been included in the top 10. I could see the argument for this, for canceling and enhance, and just how strong that disruption game plan is. But these were the contenders. I didn't feel they were quite good enough to be in the top 10. Let me know if you think there's any of these that can be in the top 10. Maybe there's a card that I didn't even put in my contenders that you think is a top 10 defensive staple. I'd love to hear it. Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you think I overrated any cards or underrated any cards. I'll just review the top 10 one more time. At number 1, we have Release. Number 2, Faith Shield. Number 3, Struggling with Studies. Number 4, Cheerleader. Number 5, Twisty Surroundings. Number 6, Cooperation Offer. Number 7, Ice Gliding. Number 8, Spooky. Number 9, Tape. And number 10, Barrier Shield.